Hello, and welcome to this video. I will be explaining to you how to write your meal paragraph that answers the question, when did humans begin? As you can see on the screen, we'll be discussing how to do all the major parts of the meal paragraph. We'll be talking about how to do the introduction, also how to do the claim, how to develop your evidence, your analysis. And remember, you have to provide two pieces of evidence. So this whole section right here in the middle will be done twice. And you'll also learn how to do the link. All right, so let's get right to it. So the introduction. So when we're talking about the introduction, you basically have to write about the characteristics that you think make us human. So up to this point, you're not really talking about any specific early ancestors that you are thinking about. So you're not writing about Homo erectus, you're not writing about Homo habilis, you're not writing about Homo neanderthalensis, not yet. You're only focusing on the characteristics that you believe make humans special, make humans different from other living things. So the way you're going to start it is by simply writing the most important characteristics of being human are, and you're expected to write 3 or 4 different major characteristics. And here are some examples of what we've discussed as a class already. So we've discussed intelligence, culture, technology, language, clothing, physical appearance, religion, to name like some of the more popular examples of characteristics that students have developed. And you're supposed to choose 2 or 3 or 4 different characteristics to focus on. So just keep that in mind while I'm providing you this example. But we're really going to focus on this one just because it is for the example. We're going to focus on intelligence. So what I'm showing you here is an example of what your introduction should look like after you've written it out. So let me go over some of the key ideas that you'll see here. So as you can see, it describes like the major characteristics. So intelligence, culture, physical features, and language. But instead of just listing these examples or these characteristics of what it means to be human, you should also be talking about the impact or the effect of these characteristics that have the impact that they've had on us humans and why they're so important. So if we keep reading further, it mentions that humans are different from other animals because our intelligence allows us to create and develop. So right there in that example, it's explaining why it is important for us to have intelligence. Then the next sentence talks about we're also able to have language and culture, which has allowed use to develop beyond other living creatures. And actually, I believe this should be us, not use. And the last part, our physical characteristics also separate us from other living creatures and makes humans special. So basically, you're talking in general, what are the major characteristics that you believe make humans special and different from other animals? And that's essentially what you're talking about in the introduction. And as you notice, there is no specific talk about a specific human ancestor. So there's no talk about Homo erectus, no talk about Australopithecus afarensis, nothing like that. It's just talking in general about these important characteristics. And that is what you should be doing when you write your introduction. The next part of the meal paragraph is the claim. So there are some major things that you need to make sure the claim has. So first, it's the sentence starter. And here's a few different sentence starters that you can use to begin the claim. You can choose to start the claim by writing therefore, consequently, due to this, or for this reason. Any of those is fine. So whichever one you like the best, you think sounds the best, that's the one you should choose. And here are the other things that you must include. Okay, so we've already covered that you have to include a sentence starter. You need to also state clearly which early ancestor you will focus on. So the claim is different from the introduction because in the claim, you have to actually say the name of the early human ancestor that you are focusing on. You must also include information about the years this ancestor existed. And of course, state the top 3 or 4 characteristics of being human that you chose and the one that you're focusing on regarding that early human ancestor. So let's look at an example of a completed claim. As you can see here, it includes all the things I mentioned. It's a sentence starter right there for therefore. It includes the name, Homo erectus. It includes the years that Homo erectus existed, 2 million and between 2 million and 200,000 years ago. And it also provides a list of all of the major characteristics that you're focusing on in your paragraph: intelligence, culture, language, and physical structure. I think one of the ways that you can write your claim is simply by following this structure. And as you can see here, it's color coded. So the parts that you can change are in red. So you can choose a different sentence starter. You don't need to choose, for example, therefore you can choose something else, as we've discussed in this video already. Consequently, for this reason, those are some examples. Of course, you need to change the name of the early human ancestor. And of course, you want to use the one that you're focusing on. Of course, you will also need to change the years of existence because each of these different human ancestors have a different years that they existed. And of course, you should all have your own choices, your own categories of being humans based on what you've already done in developing the information and the details from the other table worksheet that I gave you before this packet. All right, and essentially when you put them all together, it gives you the claim for the paragraph. Now, for the next page, this is the page that's used to develop not just your evidence, but also your analysis. So, and this is like really one of the most important parts of the paragraph. Remember what I've mentioned before, that you must have some kind of evidence. You must be able to name the source that the evidence comes from in order for you to even get credit and not get a 0 for this meal paragraph. So for this example, we are going to focus on intelligence, on the human characteristic of intelligence, which means that we need to find details or information that connect to intelligence. And specifically, we are focusing on the group Homo erectus. So in order to find this information, you will need to visit the Google Classroom. And under Unit 5, you'll see here, website, our early human ancestors. this is the website that you should be using. And like I said, we are using Homo erectus as the example. Let's click there. And these are details that you should have already read, that you have included in your table. And you're basically just finding more specific or larger details that connect to each category that you chose. So for this example, we're focusing on intelligence. So you're reading this information about Homo erectus, and you're finding information that basically demonstrates that they were intelligent. Here is a good example. So essentially, you are copying or summarizing the details from the website and including them in your meal paragraph worksheet. So they should look like this after you've done that. See just a few details right there in the middle. And as I said before, one important thing is that you also include the source. So let's return to the web page. And the source for the page is going to be near the top. So you may have to scroll back up. And right here, where it clearly says source, this is what you would copy and include on your meal paragraph worksheet. And there you have it. So the source name is Homo erectus, Facts About the Upright Man, article by Joseph Castro, writing for livescience.com. So now what's next is for you to explain exactly why you chose these details right here. So as you were looking for evidence, you saw this information and thought that it connected to the idea of intelligence. So you must explain exactly how that connection exists. How do you explain that connection? So basically what you're doing is you are answering this question. How do these details demonstrate that Homo erectus was intelligent? So basically what you're doing is you're reviewing these details right here and connecting it to this idea of intelligence. And you have to explain that idea. Here's an example of a possible explanation. This demonstrates that Homo erectus was intelligent because they were able to create technology to help them survive better by improving their hunting skills. So basically what I've done here is provided some explanation of how these details right here in the middle, the ones you found from the page, how they connect to this main idea of yours regarding intelligence. So that's just one part of this annotation. So basically you just connected the details from the evidence to the category for the characteristic of being human. So now you have to also connect it to us today. So you have to connect it to, you have to demonstrate how these same details connect to us modern humans today. So here's an example. This shows that Homo erectus was similar to modern humans because today we are constantly creating technology to improve. And it's always a good to proofread, to read your work over to make sure there are no misspellings, as they are right here. Okay. Oh, and also don't forget, as a part of another big part of this process is you should include a specific example. You have to include a specific example, and that specific example has to connect to this statement you've made right here regarding how Homo erectus is similar to modern humans. This explanation that I've provided, it's a good general explanation of how Homo erectus connects to modern humans today, but you should also include a more specific idea or specific example. After that's complete, you'll notice on the worksheet underneath that section that you'll see it says evidence number 1 and analysis number 1. Now, what you want to remember is this, that you don't need to create this from nothing. Like, you don't have to create something new. All you're doing is you are using the notes that you just created to write your evidence number 1 and also write your analysis number 1. So for example, if you're looking at this worksheet and you see here on top that all these, your details are here, your sources here, and your annotations are done, well, you have everything you need if you finish all of this. So for example, the source right here on top, as well as these details, all of that is going to go towards writing your evidence right here. So you're not really creating something new. You're basically just using the information that you found in order to write the evidence. And the same thing goes for these annotations right here. So these annotations, where you wrote this demonstrates that, this shows that, these are going to go under the analysis. So this is just to demonstrate that you are not doing like double the work. If you've already completed this top part right here, you do not need to write anything extra down here. You're just simply structuring it in a more organized way, and you're making sure that you have all of the different parts that you need to have for evidence and for analysis. And those parts are what we are going to review next. All right, so you have your evidence number 1 and analysis number 1 ready to go. So as I've already explained, you're going to have these details here. And those are going to connect to the evidence. And then you're also going to have the details here and here, and have them connect to the analysis. So when we're talking about evidence, it needs to include the following 3 big things: a sentence starter, which can be according to, based on, as the author shows in. So any of those is fine. It will also need the name of the source, and you will also need to include the details from the evidence. So what I want to stress is that you already have like all of this already completed. You have here the name of the source right here on top, and you also have the details from the evidence. So you really don't have to, research more information. You don't have to find anything new because you've already found it. You are simply organizing it in a more organized way to write your meal paragraph. So let's look at the 3 parts for this evidence. So first of all, it's a sentence starter. I've chosen according to as a sample. Next is the name of the source. So I know that maybe the source seems very long. Those are just the names of the articles. They have to be that length in order to show the full information. Later on in 11th and 12th grade, you will find a different way to record your evidence so that it will not be this long when you are writing your paragraphs. But for now, I need you to include the whole article. And then after this, you're going to include the details from the source. From this example, the details are Homo erectus used tools, technology, and culture to hunt for and gather food. So as you can see, you had basically all of the information needed for the evidence. You were just needed to organize it better and in the way that a meal paragraph needs to be structured. All right, so now for the analysis. The analysis is in the same similar way. You already have all of the things you need. You have here some details, and you have here other details, and you're basically using that to form your analysis. Okay, and the analysis has these parts. So just like any other section of the meal paragraph, you need a sentence starter. So here are a couple of sentence starter examples. Of course, there are other ones. You can choose this demonstrates that, this means that, and there's also this shows that, there's also this indicates that. Any of those would be fine for analysis. You need to include a short summary of your claim. You also need to include how the connection to the category for humans. And remember, like up here, this is the category for humans that we're using, for example, intelligence, a connection to modern humans, and a specific example from today. All right, so let's look at the process piece by piece to see how the analysis is built. All right, so first off is a sentence starter. For this example, we're using this demonstrates that. Next is a summary of the claim. As you can see, this summary is really short. This is about as long as you need it to be for it to be effective. So the summary for the claim is Homo erectus should be considered when humans first began. That's basically it. You're basically just restating what the purpose of this paragraph is. And the purpose of this paragraph is to explain why Homo erectus should be considered the first humans. At least this is how it is for the sample paragraph. Yours, depending on which you chose, it'll be different. You have to connect it to the category. So this shows that Homo erectus was intelligent because they were able to create technology to help themselves survive by improving their hunting skills. Now remember that this is not anything new. If we go back, you can see that you already did this once. You did it right here. All we did was take these details and include them in that analysis. Right there. Okay. After this section of the analysis, it's the connection to modern humans. This also indicates that Homo erectus was similar to modern humans because today we are constantly creating technology to improve our ability to survive. And same thing, if we go back to our annotation page, you'll see that this is essentially the same thing we wrote here, which only leaves us with our specific example from today. An example from today is the way we try to create technology to help with climate change as a way to help ourselves survive. So this is a more specific example from today that still connects to the details of the evidence. All right. So one thing I should mention is that, I showed you how to do evidence number one, analysis number one. In order to do evidence number two and analysis number two, you basically have to just repeat the same process that we've just reviewed, but of course, choosing a different category. So in this example, we chose a category of intelligence. You may need to focus on something else, for example, culture, for example, language, So whichever other categories you are focusing on, that is what your analysis to evidence to should focus on. Then once you're done with that, you'll need to do the link. So remember that the link is basically a way to rewrite your claim in a different way or to summarize your paragraph in 1 or 2 sentences. So you can just summarize it in your own words, like summarize what this paragraph is about. Or you can review your claim from the beginning and write it in a different way in order to create your link. So first you need to include a sentence starter. So for this, I have chosen in conclusion. And then it's a summary of your paragraph. And actually this is what goes here, just to make it super clear. And then you just need a summary of the paragraph. So for the link, it's this is basically it. In conclusion, Homo erectus should be considered the ancestor when modern humans began because they had the most important characteristics of intelligence, culture, and language. As you can see, basically, you're covering the most important things. You're including a sentence starter. You're repeating the name of the group that you're focusing on, and you are summarizing the characteristics of humans that you are focusing on. And once you're finished writing, finishing this worksheet, then it's time to type it up. So if you visit the Google Classroom, you'll see under Unit 6, at the very top of Unit 6, Assignment Early Humans Meal Paragraph. So basically what you're doing is you are typing up each section of the meal paragraph worksheet that you've just completed. You'll see it's labeled into different sections: introduction, claim, evidence number 1, analysis number 1, evidence number 2, analysis number 2, and the link. And in case there is some doubt about what exactly you're typing, all right, so essentially you're typing, when you're doing the introduction, you're typing all of the sentences that you wrote here in the introduction. For the claim, same thing, you're typing all of the sentences you wrote here. Now, where it gets different is for the evidence analysis. So you're actually not including this up here. That was just like you gathering your ideas. So you're really just including what you wrote down here under evidence number 1. And then also writing what you wrote here for the analysis. And then of course, for the link, you are just copying what you wrote for the link. That's what you're typing up. And one other thing to remember is that after you've typed up your paragraph section by section here, if you scroll down to the very end, it says here your completed paragraph. So you're basically going to copy and paste each of these sections. You're going to copy and paste them down here and make sure that they are, they don't have really strange spaces between them, and that basically you can see the entire paragraph all together. And because that's how it would look the most professional. All right, and I think that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope that it is helpful in developing your own meal paragraph.